What's up, guys? Welcome to another Summoners War Chronicles video. And with the NA, we have Katana now. And Katana basically introduced a whole bunch of path of adventure dungeons. Now I have hard mode. So I'm going to go over what I use in certain dungeons. I haven't farmed all of them, but I'm going to pretty much give you a game plan of what I'm going to do in those dungeons. But I'll tell you pretty much what dungeons I'm going to primarily farm and what teams I'm using. If you like the video, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and also give the video a like so other people can get the help as well. Let's get into the video. So with the introduction of Path of Adventure hard mode, basically everything now has a 500,000 power cap, so you want to make sure that you abuse the opposing element to get that bonus power. So with Queen Spider Nest, you want to use wind. For Shrine, you want to use water. For Glands, you want to use fire. You want to use the opposing elements that allows you to ease it basically eases it, so you don't have to worry about having a whole bunch of power when you're trying to reach this. You just kind of want to make sure that you have kind of the runes to deal with it, because these bosses are they do a lot of damage now, and also some of them are bullet sponges. They're really tanky. So my goal is pretty much to have dungeon teams that basically can do it on auto. I don't care too much about the team as long as they don't take 10,000 years to do it. So for the most part, I have most of them down, and some of them are actually on auto, but for the rest, I had to manual. Like Queen Spider Nest, I pretty much manual because I can kind of deal a bunch of damage to it and pretty much get it out. But for Shrine and Glands, I pretty much auto it. I'm not gonna do Laboratory of Madness because you mainly do Laboratory of Madness for the material. Like you mainly do it for the material, which is good if you're crafting weapons. But since the weapons I'm crafting right now don't really need flasks, I'm not really looking at it right now. But you will probably want to make a team for it, and I will make a suggestion of a team you can use. But for the most part, I'm not focused on it myself. Lava Cave, I'm not focused on myself either ways. I do have a team for it, but I'm not really focused on it, and I'll give a suggestion for it. Temple of Darkness, for sure, I haven't done yet, and it's a dungeon that will become viable later on down the line, because I believe as we get more tankier, destroy runes are going to be so really good to have, and also you want to craft the outfits. I'm not focused on this either, but the main dungeons I'm pretty much focused on, and pretty much the conversations I have with other players like Making a Bud or Breaking Goods, pretty much everybody's pretty much focused on one of these three. So I have teams for all these three 1000%. I've been farming Forgotten Shrine because I want to get a lot of my units on Fatal now, because I use Windy, so I got that crit damage bonus, and basically having the Fatal runes, I can do a lot more damage. I just want to make sure my runes are pretty much optimal. So like I said, I'm gonna go through every team right now, so that way you can get a kind of an idea of what teams or what units you can go for, and what units to use. Alright, for Queen Spider's Nest level 2, it's pretty much a team: Bastet, Argan, and Windy. This is the dungeon I pretty much try to one-shot. I have Argan Soul Link. I had this in the wrong order. Basically, I have Argan Soul Link, so that way I can... The thing about Queen Spider Nest is that she can cleanse up the defense break. So with Wind Orbia, I can apply a defense break at the brand. You do a good burst of damage. Then when the defense break falls off, with Argan's S1, you apply defense break again, and you finish the boss. So that's pretty much my routine when it comes to beating this dungeon. This is the team I recommend, and again, like I said, you want to abuse the opposing elements, so that's why I use Argan and Windy. Windy gets that crit damage bonus, so that way I can again one-shot the boss. Well, not one-shot, but do big damage to the boss to complete it pretty fast. And this is the team I use. Bastet will obviously the shield and attack buff. The shield is pretty valuable because Bastet has a really thick shield, and it allows me to sit there and just not worry about taking too much damage. I do also recommend Shannon if you don't have a Bastet built up. Shannon's also pretty good because of the fact that she does give attack buff. Defense buff is also great, and also she defense breaks as well. It's only one boss, it's only her, so her defense break is pretty consistent. So you have that as well. So I would suggest those two for as far as buffers. Shannon is really great for this, but I just prefer Bastet because I pretty much have a routine down. I would actually probably say use Shannon if you're not Orbia. If you're not Orbia, probably use Shannon instead, because you actually you get more of a consistent defense break, and you may want to have Shannon Soul Link, or you may keep Argan Soul Link as well. But for the most part, I would say these are the three best monsters. Outside of that, there's not really too much. If you want to tank it out with you can use Naomi as well. If you don't have Argan, you could throw in Naomi. Naomi is not bad as well. If you don't have Windy, just replace it with pretty much another defense breaker, or maybe just another wind damage dealer, or you could probably use Naomi and Argan. together. If you don't have a Windy, that's also an option you can go for. But for the most part, try to make sure that like at least 2 of the monsters are wins, so that way you can abuse that bonus damage and also that bonus power that you get for using the opposing element. But like I said, for me personally, my team is pretty much these 3. And pretty much go from there. I go in, pretty much I completed it within, I think, like 30 seconds, and then call it a day. That's my team for Queen Spider Nest. All right, so I'm not gonna move on my runes too much. I'm just gonna show you my teams, but these do work. I've been farming on stream. Also, if you want to come by and watch me farm them, twitch.tv/Juggernaut. You can watch me farm these live. But this is the team I'm gonna be using for Grinding Shrine. This is also the dungeon I've been farming the most so far, because like I said earlier, like I have Zhang Fei. I want to get Zhang Fei on a decent guard set. I also want to start getting my units on good fatal sets, like my Naomi, my Argan. I want to get them on good fatal sets. So I've been farming this dungeon pretty much the most right now, and it's been pretty good so far. No complaints. Also, the rune combination thing is amazing. I love it. It's one of my favorite things right now. It makes the game a little bit tedious because, like right now, like I've been telling people we're kind of in a soft reset because of the fact that we're basically we're on the grind farming 6-star runes, and our 5-star runes are pretty much like we don't care about them anymore. We want to get them out. We want to transition all of our units, most all of our units on 6-star runes. So it's kind of a soft reset for if you've been playing long enough. I've been playing since day 1, so at this point, pretty much like all the 5-star runes I have are pretty much just trashed, and I'm farming more 6-star runes. And I'm gonna have like a routine of like what I want to farm. Like I said, for the most part, I'm farming the first 3 dungeons, and the others I really don't care about. But back to this dungeon, not to go on a side tangent, but so far I'm using Bastet, Rigel, and Naranja. Rigel's really good here because the boss attack buffs and defense buffs himself. This team is full auto. I just put Orvia on the water stab, and this team literally full autos it. I literally burned 100 tickets on this and went to sleep, and they use all 100 tickets. They use all of them. So this team is this team is completely on full auto. Like I said, Rigel's good because he'll take off the attack buff and the defense buff and replace it with attack break and defense break, which is really good. Another option for Rigel that's also not that bad is Acilia, because Acilia does the same thing. It's also a little bit better for Orbia because you can probably abuse Fire Staff, but I'll still say use Water Staff because Water Staff can CC the boss. The boss can be frozen. So I would say like use Water Staff for your Orbia. If you are any other character besides Orbia, then you might want to get a Rigel. Rigel's like really, really good for this. Like he's a really good, probably the top option for this if I'm being honest, because of the fact that he can take off the defense buff and take off the attack buff, because he does hit really, really hard, and you want that attack buff off, so you want somebody that can potentially remove that. Also, Naranja is really good because he buff blocks, so she'll buff block for a bit, so he does get either or, and Naranja also is a really good damage dealer. And then Bastet, just normal, again, attack break, attack buff for your team, and also shield, also really, really good. Like I said, this team is full auto. I just go to sleep, they do it, and call it a day. But this team I suggest for Forgotten Shrine. Like I said, they're mainly on max stats mainly on tank runes like HP. Rigel, I would say Rigel you probably want to make a little bit tankier. I have him on my Acaramir runes, which is attack, crit damage, HP, and just because he's more melee range, while these two are more they're literally ranged, period. So they're more further back. So Rigel pretty much takes a lot of the aggro. So you want Rigel to live as long as possible because you want him to do the attack. You want him to replace take off the attack buff and defense buff. So Rigel's pretty good for this. Probably a kind of top option for this dungeon. He's really, really solid. So I would suggest these 3. Like I said, the only person I'll probably take out if you're trying to use this in later game is probably, if you don't have a Rigel, probably just Celia, because she essentially does the same thing. She does take off the attack buff, which is pretty good, and she also takes off the defense buff, buff as well. She's really good. She's really solid for this. But I think Rigel is way better, mainly because he's water, and also because again power bonus, so it allows you to stay in power pretty often, and you'll be good from that point. But this is the team I use. This is what I suggest if you have them, and yeah, this is my team for Forgotten Shrine. Alrighty, for Glands, which is probably going to be my least farm dungeon, but I'm still farming a good amount. This is the team I use. Surprisingly, Sir Hercules is actually pretty good here, and you get it for free. The good thing about Sir Hercules is that he applies attack down and crit damage down, and also he can silence. So all these are really good interior glands because they reduce the damage that the interior glands boss does. Because thinking about him, he does a lot of damage because he crit damage buffs himself, and also when he gets that chomp, it's really dangerous to you. I just tank it out because I just don't want to deal with it while he's here for the heal and also the defense buff, defense break, excuse me. And then I just stay in the back at Orbia. Orbia just does most of the damage while these three just tank it out, and then while he just heals up my team and also continuously applies the defense break. So like I said, these are really good. Jugg just kind of tanks it. Sir Hercules tanks it, and with Sir Hercules basically, like I said, applying the attack break and also the crit damage break, it's really good because he doesn't do that much damage, and so these two just sitting there for 10,000 years and just never take any type of damage whatsoever. Also, Zhang Fei has a heal as well, so he also has a revenge buff, so he's also doing a little bit of damage himself. But for the most part, they just sit there and tank it, and I just tank it out the whole entire time. This is probably the one that takes a little bit longer than the other two that I use, that I farm. But for the most part, it's 100%. Like I said, all I care about is doing it 100%. I don't care too much about speed right now. I'll speed it up later on. I just want to consistently be able to farm these dungeons, so that way I can start getting the 6-star runes. Then later on down the line, I'll speed everything up. But for the most part, this team I use for tier glands, it works great. I messed around with a lot of things. You could also, like, if you want a speed dungeon, obviously use like Helia. Helia is really good. It's a lot easier for Orbia because Orbia just kind of nukes everything if you set her up pretty well. Like I said, you could probably replace some things like Shannon. Again, also really good here. Shannon's not bad because, again, defense buff, defense break, there's only one target, so she's able to defense break pretty consistently. You could probably add in Tion if you want, if your Tion's taken up, and that way if anybody dies, he can revive them. You could probably even squeak out like maybe Vivachel if you really want to go like full tank. But my suggestion for this is just bring something like defense breaks and then just like tank it out and then just go from there. Because like Tier Glands, for some reason, he seems way tankier than the other bosses. He seems really tanky. So that's why I kind of just like I kind of just didn't care about trying to like do a speed dungeon for it, and I'll just work on down the line as I improve my 6-star runes, and then I go from there. But for the most part, like I said, these three work just fine. I just sit in the back of Orbia, do fire stab, burn, defense break, and then Orbia just does all the damage, while pretty much these three just take it out. Like I said, Huahi heals, attack buffs, defense breaks. Zhang Fei and Sir Hercules pretty much just debuff and take it out and just pretty much take all the aggro of the boss. So this team I use, you can kind of follow it. I would suggest just pretty much taking it out. Also, a good replacement for Huahi is pretty much like maybe Colleen. I was considering Colleen, mainly because she does heal block, so if he does get a chomp off, he doesn't heal from it. But you kind of don't want him to chomp. So for the most part, I would say, like I said, just tank it out and you should be totally fine. All right, I'm skipping directly. Like I said, because the most part, I ain't farming it. I'm not farming him. I'm not farming him at all, and I don't suggest you farm him. Like I said, unless you're farming him for the flask for weapon crafting. But for the most part, nobody farms directly, so I'm just gonna skip it entirely. But for Borbos, I was using this team. This team did work, but what I would actually not use is him. I would actually replace him with auto attacker, because the thing about the Borbos is that auto attackers do more damage. So if you have a Theomars build, it is his time. I don't know where my Theomars. I know where he's at actually. One sec. I know because I don't really use Theomars, but Theomars, good option for here because Theomars is primarily an auto attacker. So you want to use Theomars, or if not, not even maybe. If you don't have Theomars, then there's Water Amazon, which you get from Story. Water Amazon is also a good auto attacker. So use pretty much use him or Ellen. Both are great. Galleon's in there for the attack buff and defense buff. Excuse me, attack buff and defense break. That's what you want. And then, if you don't have Galleon, then obviously a good option will still be Bastet. You just want to make sure that you have a defense break in there. Naranja's good if you're using Galleon, but I would say if anything, use Bastet, Ellen, and then make sure you have a defense break. But like I said, you have Galleon, then you can replace Bastet with Galleon, and then use Ellen and Naranja. Or like I said, Ellen Theomars. Theomars works as well. I'll probably use Ellen because my Ellen's already 70 and she's a 4-star. I don't have to invest too much into it, but also really good. You just mainly want an auto attacker that's built really well, because auto attackers do really good. They do bonus damage in Borbos. So I'll be using Galleon, Ellen, and Naranja. That's pretty much the plan. Like I said, I use Lich. Lich is pretty much useless. I don't know why he had him there, but it worked, so I didn't complain. But I'm taking out Lich because Lich doesn't really do anything here. He just kind of was a water unit that I pretty much already had runes on them, so I just want to try it out, see if it worked. It did work, but it took like 10,000 years. I think it was pretty much lucky because I was freezing him for the most part. But like I said, I'll be replacing, I'll be using Galleon, Ellen, and Narha. That'll be the team, and I'll use Water Staff because I'm going back and forth because Fire Staff is really good in Borbos because of the crit damage bonus that you get from burns. But I probably will stick to Water Staff because CCing the boss is just nice, and then I could just these three can do the damage, and while Orbia just pretty much like does damage and CCs the boss, which is pretty much the goal. So this is what I'll be using in Lava Cave for against Borbos, and that's like the only other suggestions I would say. If it's like I said, if it's too hard when it comes to just trying to beat the boss, if you're not at Orbia, because like for Orbia this is a little bit easier, but if you're not Orbia, then your options pretty much is to take it out. I would say probably Lulu. I would say like just Lulu. Lulu's good. Just make sure you bring a defense break. That's always important. And I would say like Galleon, Lulu, and like something else like damage. Just so that way you can have a damage. Something can tank it out. You have the Galleon for the attack buff, and also like I said, defense break, which is important. You want to keep that up as much as possible. And like I said, damage. So I would say these three are fine. These three are a good like starter team. If you don't have Galleon, then just any monster that can defense break. Not Shannon, because Shannon's win. You want to stay within the elements. I don't know too much water units. If you know a water unit that's pretty good here, you know, throw in the comment section that can defense break. That isn't Galleon, because Galleon's pretty much, I feel like they're one of the better options right now when it comes to Lava Cave. But since I have Galleon, I'll pretty much be using it here. If you don't have Galleon, get Galleon from Exchange Pizza Shop. That's the best option. Galleon is really good, especially later game. But for the most part, just ignoring like this overall tip guide, because it's pretty much what I use. Like I said, Galleon, like I said, Ellen, and it will be Narna. Like this team, I will pretty much build for it. You know, I have runes on so I can farm Lava Cave, but I won't really be farming Lava Cave, so it doesn't matter too much. So I'm kind of just in a boat of just like, this is the team I would probably use if I was farming it, but for the most part, I don't care about it. If I ever pull like an auto attack monster, then I'll pretty much care about it. All right, for Temple of Darkness, I actually have no clue how this dungeon works. I haven't done it yet, so I'll probably do like a breakdown on it later on of what to use this dungeon. But I haven't farmed it yet, primarily because, like I said before, we don't know how good shield runes are right now, and so I'm not too invested in like figuring out a team for this. I mean, we could look into like what people have probably used just to get a team for it. But yeah, well, there you go. It looks like Narnha, Bastet, Argan, Galleon, pretty much like the go-to. Juno probably because he debuffs a lot, so Juno's probably good here. But as you can see, pretty much the same pretty much monsters you see everywhere. Just Argan damage, Bastet. Bastet is really good. Bastet is just so good. If you don't have a Bastet, please get a Bastet. She's amazing. She's one of the best like just PvE monsters in general. But it seems like yeah, Bastet, Argan, Galleon, Helia, Annabelle, Espino. I haven't seen Espino too much, but it's good that he's out here using PvE stuff. But like I said, that's probably the team I'll probably end up using depending on what's going on, and then I'll go from there. I'll probably end up using like probably these three and not Bastet, but I'll probably still use Bastet because I just like Bastet, one of my favorite monsters in the game. But yeah, I'm not farming it right now. Like I said, Destroy is one of those dungeons that may be viable like later on down the line, because as people get more tankier, especially in this game, people are way too tanky. So Destroy becomes a lot better and a lot more viable. So, and we only have like one Destroy monster that's kind of viable, which is I believe is a Dark Raven. And so Destroy will become valuable later on, but for, like I said, for the most part, I care about these three dungeons, and this the teams. This is pretty much where most of my tickets and farming will go into over the next like month, just to try to get my account back to where it was as far as power. But there you go. That's the end of the video. If you guys like this video or just need any, you got any questions, throw down in the comment section. I'm down to answer any questions you have. I'm enjoying Katana so far. Katana is really great. I love the area. I love the vibes. Everything about Katana is just really beautiful. The art, everything is amazing. The music, I enjoy being in that area. I can't wait for the Archer Summoner, because we saw the Archer Summoner in the story. I can't wait for the Archer Summoner to come to the game. But for the most part, Katana looks really great. I'm pretty stoked and get back on the grind, get back up in power, and just get back to where I was kind of before I kind of laid off a bit. But everything does great, and like I said, I'm enjoying it so far. But if you like the video, go ahead and give it a like. Please give it a like so that way others can get help as well, and this can kind of go into the algorithm, and people can kind of get, you know, an idea what units to kind of look for when they want to start doing these dungeons, and it'll greatly help them out. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a great day, and I will see you guys next time.